Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the PowerPoint Codex. One of the things that I like to try and do sometimes when I'm trying to group together a series of topics around potentially a larger topic is to be able to utilize visualizations. Now, of course, you can use a whole range of different tables and shapes to be able to do that. But one of the things which I find is kind of pleasing to the eye when you're thinking about intersection points is having a main point at the middle and then a larger set of a circle that breaks up into the points to visualize what you actually have. But this is not so simple to be able to go ahead and do. There is some tricks you can actually utilize to help you, and I'm going to show you what you can do, but ultimately I want to help you get to the outcome as best as you possibly can. So let's jump over to our cheese PowerPoint presentation to be able to help us do that. So here we are in our cheese presentation, and you can sort of see here, this is what we had before, which was our cheese map, right? Which showed on one particular page, these are all the cheeses we sell. Now, what if I wanted to format this into some sort of circle? Yes, I could go ahead and circle each of those different images, but I want to put them all into one circle and show them as segments and things like that. So what I could do if I go through here, and I'm going to create a new slide, and let's just take all of this out the way. I can go through here and create a shape. We're going to hold down Shift, and there is our circle. That should sit just nicely in the middle there. Now, our problem with this is that I can only really format this one whole shape. I can't put multiple images in there unless I maybe went to an external editor to try and actually create a montage and then somehow brought that in. But as it stands today, I can really only go ahead and put one image into this. So I want to work out a way to segment this out. So this isn't necessarily going to work. What I thought I could do with the age of AI and all of these different things was to actually ask for a prompt, right? And this is really what it's about, is to help you get your work done quicker and to create or have the software create a slide with, say, we've got 5 cheeses, 5 segments for cheese. Shouldn't necessarily be too hard. So if I go create, let's say insert a circle the size of my slide that is split into 5 slices that can be individually formatted. So fairly descriptive prompt, fairly easy to do, I would have thought. So let's just see what happens when we press enter on that. And that's working on an answer here. It sounds like you're creating a circle divided to 5 slices. Unfortunately, I can't make changes to your presentation, which is kind of strange to me. I thought that would be possible for it to do. Let's just squeeze this back into our view here. I would have thought that this should be easy enough to go ahead and actually do, but Copilot doesn't necessarily want to be able to go ahead and actually do it. It can tell me, I'll take you through the steps. Maybe that might be the way to go. So let's go back here and say, provide me step-by-step instructions to create this circle. So working on a response, it can't even provide step-by-step instructions. So we're kind of challenged right now to be able to go ahead and actually do this. So we can't do it by dragging in the shapes. We can't do it by using Copilot. What we could do here as a trick is to utilize a pie chart. A pie chart will give us a segmented up view. So let's go through here and say, insert chart, and I'm going to go insert chart, and I'm going to go for a pie. And what this will actually do is it'll pop up for me a Excel window. Now you can't see this will be happening off screen, but I can edit these shapes. So let's say I need 5 pieces, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and actually put this in. So if I made them even, each one would be 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. And there we go. We've got a 5 segment area of a shape we can go and use, right? So I can go ahead and actually take this out. I can take out sales, and I can make this a little bit bigger. So we've now got a shape we can actually work with. And from here, what I can actually do is start to format this particular pie chart to bring it all together. So if I go here and click on one slice and go to format data point and go here to fill, I can say I want a picture fill. And from there I can go insert, and I can go over and choose my cheese. Again, you can't sort of see it, it's off screen, but I choose a cheese, hit insert, and it's there. And so I can go through here and do each individual one. We're going to change this to the cheddar cheese, and let's go over to this one. Same thing again. This time we'll use the Edam cheese, and again Gouda, and the last one we want to do is mozzarella. Okay, so now what we actually have here on that screen is a nicely segmented up window that you can go ahead and have all of that information together, which actually looks a little bit nicer than just individual squares. We can go ahead and actually use the pie chart to be able to go and segment them. But there is one thing I've actually noticed, that there's a challenge here, that sometimes the cheeses themselves are actually reshaped, right? And this comes down to cropping, right? So cropping sometimes will fill the space. Sometimes you want to sort of fill out the way it actually should be from a dimensional point of view. In fact, you can actually see this happening here in the actual screen. That look of that brie here, as you can sort of see, is kind of squashed down compared to the actual image here. Like if I go and pull this up, it looks more like this. But the original screen size of that image was a much longer one. That was actually something more like that, because brie tends to be fairly long. So what you can do sometimes with images is to be able to go ahead and actually select them and go to the shape format and do the alterations, and essentially sort of say, hey, crop the fill or crop to fit. That option is not available here, and this doesn't necessarily look too bad until you start to use images which just look wrong. So as an example, here's one that I had earlier. I was trying to format some people into a face here, and so if I go through here and I'm going to try and do another image, and let's just have a look here in my downloads. And I'm going to choose, okay, so then what we're seeing here is really the image itself is much more stretched out, right? It doesn't necessarily look, and there's nothing in the actual options here from PowerPoint that would enable me to make it look better. Like you can't sort of shape that up properly. So we have a bit of a problem when it's a shape which can get away with the sort of shrinkage or the movage. It's okay, but when it comes down to something which you want to be able to maintain a certain aspect ratio, this approach doesn't work. However, there is another way which you can use, and it's a little bit more convoluted, but it will get you the final result. So what I'm going to do here is go over to our image here, and I'm going to create another slide. We're going to get rid of all of this, and I'm going back to what I had before and create that circle again. So let's go ahead and actually create that. We've got that in the middle. Now what we're going to use is a function which you've sometimes seen up here, which is in this merge shapes area, and it's probably most of the time you see it, it's actually grayed out, and you probably wonder what's the point of this particular thing. Well, this section has a whole range of different functions to intersect with shapes and work with them to create new shapes. And so we can use this as a way to help us segment out our shapes. So what I'm going to do now is insert another shape, and I'm going to insert in a rectangle, and I'm going to make it fairly thin and fairly big. And what I want to happen is I want this to be essentially a different color. We'll go red. I want this to be the way that I split up the actual circle. So I'm going to make this really, really thin, and I'm going to go and copy that and do, whoops, I'm going to copy that and do another one. This one I'm going to go spin to 90 degrees. And what we're going to do now is select those two. We're going to align the center, these two we're going to select. We're going to align the middle. And what we've essentially created here is kind of like a crosshairs. Now we're going to select all of those shapes and go to that merge shape menu. So I'm going to select all of these. And up here in shape format, this is now enabled. And so if I click down on this, what I can do here is union, so bring it all together. I can do combine, I can do fragment, intersect, subtract. So I'm going to use here fragment. And what this will do will break up every single shape all at once. So I click that. Now everything has been fragmented where there is a crossing or an intersection point. And so from here, what I can actually do is just take out the bits I don't need. So I can start to delete different sections here. Whoops, I do need that one. I can delete that. Let's just try and select them all. I don't want to take that one away. And bang, there we go. We now have a segmented circle. Now, of course, this gets a little bit trickier to do the 5 segments because you can't necessarily draw the lines unless you're really finical, but you could do it, I guess. But as a 4 segment one, you could actually do it like this. And now, if I go through here and do my picture fill, and I'm going to use the same image as before of that person, you can see at first, it's actually off to the side here, so we want to go like that. It still has the neck shape, so if I go to picture format and go to crop and say fill, that looks a little bit better. What I'm going to do is bring this image down a little bit. Oops. And bring it across a little bit and essentially get something that's a little bit more realistic in there from that point of view. So it maintains the actual aspect ratio. But previously it would do fit, so it would squash it into it. But we want fill, which will maintain the aspect ratio and ensure that you have a better shape in that design. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's a way you can actually utilize shapes to maybe coalesce your ideas together in a visualization that's a little bit more appealing versus something which is, just a whole shape of boxes. You could use the pie chart tool, which will give you shapes beyond, say, 4 segments. But if you could get away with 4, I would recommend that this might be the way to go because it gives you the most flexibility as it relates to maintaining your shapes. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope this has been useful. Please like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you.